So are the Spurs the real deal?
You are Locked On Spurs, your daily San Antonio Spurs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome back to Locked On Spurs, right here on the Locked On NBA Network. I'm your host, Jeff Garcia, Spurs writer for Ken's 5 San Antonio. Glad to have y'all back. Happy Monday, everybody. Short work week. Yeah, I got the holiday Thanksgiving coming up soon, so glad you're here with us right here on Locked On Spurs to start your week off. As always, we thank you for making Locked On Spurs your first listen every single day. Free and available wherever you get podcasts, iTunes, Spotify. Pick a platform. We are there. Ken's 5 Plus app as well. YouTube, obviously. Subscribe to us right now. We got a newsletter as well. Locked On Spurs newsletter. Go in the description below. The link is there. Made it very simple for you. Click on it. It's free. You'll have some fun with it. You'll get that in your inbox every single day. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Make sure you do that right now. What are we talking about today? We're going to be asking the big question, are the Spurs the real deal? They took down the Warriors. They took down the Thunder. They took down the Rockets. They're looking like a well-oiled machine of late. They're above 500 as of this recording, 9-8. So is there something there? What is making them cook? What is making them go? Should we kind of put the brakes a bit, considering we're just 17 games in? Is that enough already to start thinking play-in maybe? Well, we're going to be discussing that as well as fan comments. It's been a while. We're going to be discussing you guys. You guys are really loving the Spurs right now. I really took a peek at them. A lot of positive comments, few negative ones. Maybe I'll pick those. But we're going to be talking about you guys, the Locked On Spurs YouTube fan comments. But yeah, 9-8, huh? Who would have thunk it? Who would have thunk it? This is a team that was projected to be one of the worst teams in the league. And right now, yeah, 9-8. I mean, not number one, but they're not the bottom of the barrel. They're a team that looks like they cannot be pushed around. We're going to be talking about that and more with our guest, Joe Garcia of Two Shots Podcast. Is going to bring him on. Joe, we finally got our schedules to work out, buddy. You're here, finally.
Yeah, I'm here, finally. Yeah, Two Shots is no more, so you got to call us Area 210.
That's right. Thank you for mentioning that. Yeah, my bad. It's, you know what, Joe, I'm used to y'all being Two Shots. That's,
Yeah.
You know, that's been a long time, but I know you're rebranding. We're going to be talking about that later. Area 210 Podcast. That's where you should go. I put the X tweet there, or the X thingy there, the profile, so y'all can see it on your screen on the YouTube side. But Joe's with Area 210 Podcast, so make sure to go and check that out. I was on the inaugural show at Joe's place. You just pretty much have a studio. Let's put it that way. You have a freaking studio in your house.
Yeah, I do. It's been a long time coming. Put a lot of time, effort, and energy and money into it. So you got to see where it was beginning, and now you got to see where it came and finally is complete. So you were there for the first rebrand of Area 210.
Yeah. By the way, great screen you have behind you right now. I appreciate that, Joe. Thank you for doing that for me. I see what you did right there. And then you got Area 210 with the alien. There it is.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there you go. Check out Joe on X, again, at Area 210 Podcast. So why is Joe here? We're going to be discussing, again, if the Spurs are the real deal. So, Joe, this is a team right now, 9-8. They storm back against the Warriors, the freaking Warriors, one of the top team in the West. Took them down, furious comeback, got the W. Then they took down the Thunder. Then they took down the Rockets, technically some of the best teams in the West. All right. And they're, for the most part, they've done that without Devin Vassell. They've done that without Victor Wembanyama. I know he came back versus the Warriors. But the point is they're doing it depleted. Sohan has been out. Keldon was out versus the Warriors. And so far, you're seeing players step their game up. But the big question here is, Joe, are they the real deal? I'm going to take the position that I need to find out more. I know it's only 17 games in, but I'm trying not to get too overexcited. I'm trying not to get too, buying into the moment here. I think it's been a luxury for them because they've been at home for quite some time, and they're going to still be at home as soon as they get back from this little mini road trip. I think there's some home cooking that's helping them, but I also think, too, you're seeing the impact of Harrison Barnes and Chris Paul. You're starting to see that infectious, never give up, you play to win, that type of mentality. And frankly, Joe, this is a team that needed it. Last year, they just wilted and died. You punch them in the mouth, they were dead in the water. This year, you punch them in the mouth, and guess what, Joe? They're coming back. Ask the Warriors. I think they got a little bit more killer instinct in them, and I appreciate that. I think the bigger reasons why they're playing so well. Joe, what do you think?
I think the biggest reason why they're playing so well is it seems like they've played inspired basketball ever since they got the news of one coach Popovich, which he's still in our thoughts and prayers. We just want to see him get well and come back. But under Mitch Johnson right now, they're playing some inspiring basketball, and you can see that if you're a Spurs fans over the last couple games, over the last 3 games, Spurs have actually started to build something called a win streak, Jeff. That we have.
Oh, look at that! Watch out now.
You know, you can call it a streak.
Watch out!
It's 3 games now. It's not like they won 1 game. They won it's 2 games. It's not really a streak. They won 3 games already. It's a certified win streak. You know. And you like what they're doing right now. Their team is showing you that they have some growth that they have shown. They've been able to go ahead and close out games. They've been able to come back from being down double digits. You know, they've shown some grit. They've shown some grind. And you like what they're doing on both ends of the basketball, not only from an offensive perspective, but also from a defensive perspective. And you're seeing them play calm and collective in the fourth quarter under the leadership of both Harrison Barnes and one CP3. They're closing out games great. I mean, right now, this team is playing at an all-time high, and you can attribute to, your veterans having a big part to play in that as well. But I think it's more the growth of the team as a whole. You can't just say it's just one player in particular. I think the team as a whole has finally started to figure some things out. You're seeing some chemistry that is happening here. And I got to say, I'm going to go ahead and push back on you here a little bit. And I got to say, I think this team might actually be the real deal, man. I said that Spurs fans might see the team be more competitive and they might see them play a lot better. But I still think, hey, they are the real deal, but let's pump the brakes a little bit because we're not even 20, 25 games into the season. But if you're a Spurs fan, there's a lot of things that you can get excited about. I just think at the end of the day, the Vegas odd makers had predicted what, Jeff? The team was going to win
35, 36 around there. Yeah.
Yep. And I still think they're going to be projected to win that amount of games when it's all said and done. But truly, as a Spurs fan, the team is showing you some growth. So enjoy the wins while you can. Enjoy the growth and stop nitpicking every little thing on this team. They're growing. They're playing better. Let's all agree about that,
Yeah, yeah. And what I like about that is that they're obviously, growing as you talk about. They're developing. Victor, one of the recent games, Wembanyama, acknowledged that last year they would just give up leads. This year they're holding on to them. Again, a sign of development, a sign of maturity, growth. And I want to circle back to the Barnes and CP3 comment you made. I agree with you. I think their presence, their calmness, their ability to show this team that you never give up, you don't die right away, is showing on the floor. Chris Paul joked that he had a kind of a back and forth with Blake Wesley on the bench, whether Blake Wesley's getting anxious, like, oh, we won, and then Chris Paul told him, hey, calm down. It's not over yet. And I like that. Look what Harrison Barnes did. I had a chance to talk to him recently about a dunk that Keldon Johnson did, not because he scored the basket, but because he did a little extra mustard on it. He hung on to it, started rattling and shaking it and, screaming his head off. Now, granted, yes, the game was out of control for Utah, but Harrison Barnes in game pulled him on the center court and told him, don't do that again. Stop. You got to stop doing stuff like that will inspire the opposition. So you see that. I mean, that's to the Spurs' longest tenured player. So Barnes is molding these guys. CP3 is the floor general, facilitating, setting things up. And now CP3 even said that, hey, this young team, sometimes they don't need me as much anymore to pretty much shut down and get those W's late in the game. Signs of developing. Joe, one thing that I think the numbers have shown so far that why the Spurs are getting better, in the last 5 games, they cut down their turnovers. So let's look at some of the numbers here, Joe. Right now, the Spurs are in the 7th percentile in the league in turnover percentage at 13.4. Joe, that was the biggest issue the Spurs had to start the season, was just turnovers. Now they're cleaning it up. To me, another sign of progress.
Yeah, it's another sign of progress. They've been doing some things out there that have been, great as a Spurs fan, because before they were turning over the ball a lot, and those mistakes were really costing them. Now what they've been doing is they've been cleaning that up a little bit more. I see them playing a lot better defense as well, bringing that energy from the get-go, and that's something that you didn't see a lot of last season. This season, they've been a little bit more consistent, trying to match the opposing team's energy coming out the gate. which helps them a great deal because they don't want to fall behind really early, And we've seen that they still have the ability to come out and win these games when they fall behind double digits, but you can't make a season out of doing that. You can't make a living out of doing that. So that's still one aspect of their game I think they need to clean up. They get off to a slow shooting start at times. I want to see them improve in that. But overall, you even like what they're doing from beyond the arc. They've been shooting the ball a little bit better. They've been able to compete with some of these other teams. Of course, with the game with Golden State, there was a big disparity there when it came to 3-point shooting because neither team shot the ball well, and they shot something like they had 44 plus attempts. I think it was for the Warriors, and then the Spurs had something around 47, and they weren't really making a lot of their 3-point shots. But you still like the fact that they at least were taking them, even though they weren't falling down for the Spurs. But I do like that they've been sharing the ball a lot better. I like the ball movement. I like the court awareness out there and the ability to go ahead and space the floor a lot better and let Wembanyama work more. I think that was one of the biggest attributes that you could see that helped improve Wembanyama's game is that floor spacing and them giving him the ball in better situations,
Yeah, exactly. He is Joe Garcia of Area 210 Podcast. Follow him on X at Area 210 Podcast. See it on your screen on the YouTube side. We're not done talking about the Spurs and if they are the real deal after just 17 games. When we get back, we're going to be continuing our discussion about that. I got some more numbers to throw at you, Joe. I think you'll be impressed what the Spurs are doing on the court during this win streak and beyond. Again, Joe Garcia, make sure to check him out on YouTube at the Area 210 Podcast. But first, I want to talk to you about Skims. Even though I wear underwear every day, I have not switched up the type of underwear I bought since college. For those who haven't heard yet, Skims now offers men's underwear. I'm here to tell you it is worth the hype. You got to go get yourself a pair of Skims. Get more. Hey, the holidays are around the corner. Get the whole family a round of Skins. Hey, as you know, people work out 5 days out of the week. I know I do. Wearing synthetic workout underwear, especially when I'm done at the gym, it doesn't feel the same. But when I tried Skims, it works a lot better with their stretch boxer brief. You want to go to shop Skims Men's at skims.com/LockedOnNBA. Let them know that we sent you. After you place an order, select podcast in the survey and select our show, Locked On Spurs, in the drop-down menu that follows. And if you're looking for the perfect holiday gift for the whole family, Skims has launched their biggest holiday shop ever, also available at skims.com/LockedOnNBA. Hey, I want to talk about Mudslingers Drive-Thru Coffee. Go there right now, San Antonio, 2404 Thousand Oaks Drive, open every single day from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. And if the Spurs win, guess what? $1 coffee, regular coffee all day long. Look, go there right now. The menu is extensive. They have everything you want from mini donuts, a latte, cold brews, hot coffees, hot chocolate. Pick something you want to drink. They have it only at Mudslingers Drive-Thru Coffee. And they're their first and the original Locked On Spurs sponsor right here in San Antonio, serving the San Antonio community the best drinks in town. They have a lightning bolt series, which includes the Alien, which I think you could figure who that's about, huh? Victor Wembanyama. Well, just a heads up, they're going to be using it with, well, first of all, they use it with the Red Bull, right? And that's always going to be on hand if you need it. You just tell them and they'll replace it. But they're going to have a new drink, or a new mix, I should say, and it contains 7 power plant extracts, okay? Better than, and just the same effects as a Red Bull. But again, those 7 power plant extracts. Go get the Red Bull drink that you want. Go get the 7 power plant extract drink that you want. Go right now to Mudslingers Drive-Thru Coffee. Follow them on social media at Mudslinger SATX. Do that right now, all platforms as well. Go to Mudslingers Drive-Thru Coffee right now. San Antonio, open every single day from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. because life is too short for a bland coffee. Back right here on Locked On Spurs with Joe Garcia of Area 210 Podcast. See, Joe, it's like I got to get out of that habit. I want to say 210, your old spot there, but Two Shots Podcast. But I'm just so used to you there. I mean, I seen you start 210, obviously, Area 210, and I saw you start Two Shots. So you're always rebranding, Joe. You're always rebranding.
Yeah, I got to keep, moving forward. But there's still more rebranding coming up because we are part of the Alamo City Podcast Network. So expect more rebranding coming up. We're going to make things a lot easier to be defined on that podcast network. And there might be changes coming to the Alamo City Sportscast, might be going through a rebrand again. So we'll see.
Ooh, there you go. All right. We're talking about the Spurs and of the real deal. They're above 500 right now, 9-8 on a 3-game winning streak, beating some of the best in the West. But should we pump the brakes a bit? Well, let's look at some numbers, Joe. So right now, I think it's plain to say their bread and butter is defense. You're seeing that really be impactful in their wins. So overall, Joe, they're 8th percentile in defensive rating at a 111.7. That's according to pivotfade.com. By the way, great NBA stats site. Go check it out. Over the last 5 games, though, they're 11th percentile in defensive rating at 111.2. So again, pretty good defense, Joe, but the struggling is still from the offensive end. Right now, in the last 5 games, they are the 20th percentile in offensive rating at 111.4 overall. So the 17 games are 21st offensive rating at 111.9. That's still a struggle, and you've seen that in the last few games. Look, they got a win versus Utah and Golden State. Yay, Spurs. But they're getting themselves in a hole, and they're digging themselves out, and that's good. I'm glad they're able to just, dig themselves out of the hole. But I still think their offense struggles. They come out misfiring. As you mentioned in the first segment, it's still a topic of conversation with Coach Mitch Johnson. Joe, do you think if they start cleaning up the offense, dare we say this team can vault maybe into play-in contention? Not flirt with play-in, like get in.
Yeah, I think they could. But again, this is going to be a tall order for this team. They're still finding their stride right now. And you can see the improvement. They've taken a leap, no doubt, from the beginning of the season to where they're at right now in the midst of a 3-game win streak. Behind one, Victor Wembanyama, who's been great out there leading this team. But there's still things as far as the offensive end can go, as far as what they need to clean up. And as you pointed out, 111.8, that's putting them right around the 20th at position 20 out of 30 teams right now. Mm-hmm. Defensive rating, again, they're about 7th out of 30 teams, which isn't bad. They're still showing that they're improved a great deal on the defensive end. It's just the offense. If you're able to go ahead and, let's say, get stops on the opposing team, the one thing that's very important is that you're going to be able to go ahead and have an impact on the offensive end and knock down the shots and take advantage of the opportunities when you do have them. I still see them at times reverting back and missing key, shots when they're wide open. They have guys open on the wing that are wide open for 3, and they're just not able to capitalize on those opportunities. And when you get those opportunities against the better teams in the West, you have to be able to capitalize on those opportunities in order to win games, because if it's a real close game and they can go ahead and make those clutch shots and you can't, game over. There's your game right there. And I think them as a team right now are starting to realize that, and they need to go ahead and start moving the ball, I think, a little bit better in the interior. I think their bread and butter at the end of the day is going to have to be getting the ball into Wemby, going ahead and making the most out of their plays that they have, especially moving without the ball. I think we need to see a little bit more movement there so they can get some easy shots and easy 2 and ones. They still seem to be a little bit lackadaisical and kind of flounder around the 3-point arc. But again, if you're not a really good 3-point shooting team, that's not going to be conducive to you, making your offensive rating go up. You need to be able to knock down the shots. And I think being able to capitalize in the interior might be the way that they can go ahead and do that instead of relying so much on the 3. Because let's face it, Jeff, they don't have a 3-point specialist per se on the team yet.
Yeah. I mean, close to it is Champagny. I mean, he's probably the closest they got. Maybe a little bit of Wemby, but definitely Champagny. But, we're talking about the second half. Second half comeback versus the Warriors that get it done and get the W. Second half comeback versus the Jazz that get the W. Yay, Spurs. But let's focus on that second half. This is where I think that this is possibly a team that could be the real deal, because they just look like a whole different team and a better team. So overall, in the second half, Joe, again, according to pivotfade.com, their second half off or defense has a defensive rating which is 5th percentile in the league at 108.1. And guess what? Their offense gets better in the second half. They have an offensive rating at 117.8. That's good for 8th percentile in the league. For a net rating of 9.7, good for 5th percentile in the NBA. Now, over the last 5 games, which does include the 3-game winning streak, gets even better on the defensive side of things. So in the last 5, their defensive rating is 100.8. So they're clamping down. That has a lot to do with Steph Castle, obviously Victor Wembanyama. And what's impressive is that this team is doing that type of defense still undermanned. No Sohan. He's perhaps one of their better defenders. He's not even out there, and they're still getting it done. Barnes, I think, summed it up pretty well after the win versus the Warriors when he said, "We've been winning by committee." And it's true. You're seeing players step up. Barnes has been stepping up, 20 points in the win versus the Warriors. You're seeing Chris Paul. If you look at his numbers, he's been a big surprise for me. I didn't expect him to be dropping double doubles nearly every single game, but he's close to it. Offense and assists. So he's setting the force. Then you're getting contributions from Mamu, Charles Bassey, Champagne's we mentioned. Just everybody's chipping in. Blake Wesley. Joe, this team is looking like a team that with a little bit more seasoning as the season goes on, yeah, I think they might be getting into that play-in tournament.
Yeah, something to be excited about if you're a Spurs fan. But again, in order for them to be able to get in there into the play-in tourney, they're going to have to come out firing on all cylinders, meaning they're going to have to play a clean game for almost the full 48 minutes. I think one of the answers that Spurs fans had early on in the season was Stephon Castle. Is the kid going to be able to play at a high level when it comes to in the context of a real world scenario? And I guess he's answered that question.
Oh, yeah.
He's ready. He's the real deal. He's the truth, man. And I dare say that I think Stephon Castle's making a strong case for himself when the rest of the team comes back healthy. Do you take him out of that starting lineup or do you leave him in there?
Yeah,
you think he's played enough and shown enough that he's maybe earned that starting position? Who are you gonna bench? You're not gonna have Vassell coming off the bench. Do you have Jeremy at this point coming off the bench?
Or Champagne,
Champagne, yeah. I mean, like, what do you do? It's one of those good problems to have, but I think
for sure
at the end of the day, when the Spurs get the squad back healthy and, Sohan and Vassell, then everybody still has to have that cohesiveness and they form that synergy there as a team. I think this team is going to be really scary at full strength because not only are you going to have a good starting five, but you're going to have a really good bench. And I think the bench right now has been the unsung hero for the San Antonio Spurs because they've been able to cut into leagues. They've been able to go ahead and help sustain the leads and just play really good basketball and give the opportunity for those starters to go ahead and rest and come back in. Even if it's just for a couple of minutes, it does help in the context of a full 82-game season where you can't have your players playing 48 minutes every single night.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Another good thing about what they're doing in the second half of games. So in the last 5 second half games, their turnover percentage is even lower. That's good for the 8th percentile in the NBA, 12.6. So they're valuing the ball more in that second half, and which is good because that's allowing them to make these massive comebacks. What good is it to make comebacks if you're just coughing the ball up left and right? So they're taking care of the ball in the second half. But yeah, I mean, this team is looking good. And you look ahead, they got Utah again, I believe tomorrow on the road. They should be able to beat Utah. We'll see how that shakes out. But man, we're possibly looking at a 4-game winning streak. It's been years since that's happened for the Spurs. And they're looking like, that this team is a team that no other team can sleep on. I think the Warriors slept on them. I think, other teams that are sleeping on the Thunder definitely, should not. I think they slept on them. But the Spurs are making them pay. And that circles back to what I said to start the show, Joe. They got more of a killer instinct. And I like that. They have a little bit more of that, hey, we're not going to lay over and die. And you're seeing it on the court. And, just look at last year, Joe. How many times we saw this team get stomped and they could not recover from that. Now they're getting, popped in the mouth and they're coming right back. So that, for me, is a big sign of improvement and why I think this team is, close to being the real deal. I know, Joe, you're pushing back on me. You're saying they are the real deal. I'm like, they're looking like the real deal. I just need a few more games. Then I can say something. I know I'm not riding the fence here, everybody. We're going to have 17 games. I need to see about 30 for me to really say, this team is good to go. And also too, Joe, they're surviving without, like I said, without sometimes some of their big guns. Wemby was out for a while. Vassell has been out. Sohan's been out. Keldon was out for a game. So they're doing it all. But, woo, Joe, I gotta calm down.
What about Trey?
We still got a long season to go.
Yeah. Trey Jones has come back. I mean, what have you thought about his play recently? Now that
steady play. Yeah, steady play. Typical Trey Jones. One of my favorite players on the roster. Just a nice even keel. He sets everybody up. Gets pretty. Is okay on defense. He's hit a couple threes, but I'm glad that he's back. And just knowing that Chris Paul has a solid backup. That's awesome. Yep. And also, as Chris Paul, joked, he's glad he has Castle on his side, because if Castle wasn't there, it would have been Chris Paul trying to chase Steph Curry. That probably would not have looked good, Joe. That would not have looked good at all.
Not at all, man.
Not at all. No, he is Joe Garcia. Oh, go ahead.
No, I said CP3 would have probably gotten injured and hurt his hamstring again trying to chase Curry,
Yeah, exactly. He is Joe Garcia of Area 210 Podcast. Follow him on X at Area 210 Podcast. Make sure to do that right now. Hey, we're going to shift gears. When we get back, we're going to be discussing Locked On Spurs fans. Your time to shine, everybody. You've been leaving a lot of comments. We're going to pick 2. And yeah, it's time for some Locked On Spurs fan comments. But first, let's talk about FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers get themselves $150 in bonus bets if you win. But you got to bet $5 to get that $150 in bonus bets. Again, only if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of a game, you got to check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, so much more on the same page where you place your bets. You want to go to FanDuel right now. FanDuel has it all. It's an easy app, very user-friendly, easy to navigate. 1, 2, 3, you're in and out, place your bets, and you're good to go. That's why FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook. So you want to visit FanDuel.com, join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. That's FanDuel.com. Go there right now. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Okay, let's talk about Game Time. You want to go to gametime.co right now. Game Time filters out the fluff to show you only the incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Hey, they have curated deals that make it easier for you to find the best price on great seats, seat views before you buy, lowest price guarantee, event cancellation protection, job loss protection. Use the app features listed in the customize your spot as just a better way to find those best seats that you're looking for. They have Game Time picks. Again, that's a curation that makes it easier to save more on sports, concerts, comedy, theater. All in pricing. They got a toggle feature that shows you the total up front with no surprise fees at checkout. And the lowest price guarantee or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It is game time. We're back right here on Locked On Spurs. He is back, everybody. Joe Garcia. We finally got our schedules to line up. He's joined us here on this episode of Locked On Spurs. Follow him on X at Area 210 Podcast. He's going to be talking about his show in just a few minutes. But, Joe, it's time for some Locked On Spurs fan comments. You got a ton of them, man. During the break, everybody, Joe and I were going through them, and we're like, okay, well, let's go with that one. Let's go with that one. There were just so many, but we got it down to 2. We're going to react to them right now. So the first one is from Daniel Cerna, 5708. He says, Steph Castle, is one of my favorite Spurs players. Here's the interesting part. He goes, just a winner. Now, and by the way, thank you, Daniel Cerna, for that comment. I bring that up because Harrison Barnes recently said that Steph Castle is a winner. You're seeing that on the court. Joe, I think what's helping him, Castle that is, do well in his rookie season is going from UConn. UConn won the national championship. They've been in those typical, pressure cooker games, and I think you're seeing it on the court. The Spurs were smart to start scouting him since high school. That's how early the Spurs started scouting Castle, and now you're seeing it pay dividends. What do you think about Castle so far in his play?
I think Castle's been a welcome, breath of fresh air for this Spurs squad, because you had questions regarding Castle. If you were a Spurs fan, he was a high draft pick. And again, when you get high draft picks, you assume that they're going to be NBA ready. And Stephon Castle looked every bit NBA ready, even in preseason, even playing in summer league and all that kind of stuff. The kid was even saying that, the game was slowing down for him when he was in preseason play. The kid's the truth, man. He's the real deal. He's the real package. And the thing is, it's scary because he's playing this good in his rookie season. He's going to have a high ceiling, man. Oh, yeah. The only thing you look forward to as a Spurs fan is seeing how high that ceiling can go. I think he's going to be one of the best two-way players out there in the NBA when it's all said and done. and I'm
Yeah.
glad he's on our team. You know,
No, I'm right there with you. I'm right there with you. Just in the last 5 games, he's averaging 16.2 points per game, 3 rebounds, 5 assists, and 33 minutes per game. He started the last 5, obviously because of the injury to Devin Vassell. He's connected on 42% of his shots, which is really, really good. And he's making about 45% of 2-point shots. He's only taking about 2 threes a game, Joe. I'm sorry, he's taking about 5 and he's making about 2. And that's good for 36%. It's still a little bit of work, but 36 is pretty decent. Overall, yeah, he's just been, wow, just eye-opening. You know, even Victor was asking, are you sure this is not a 30-year-old guy out there on the floor? I think all Spurs players, his teammates, are just surprised at how well Castle's playing. So thank you for that comment, Cerna. We appreciate it. Up next, Joe, this is from Himmy Dog. So Himmy Dog says, I'd like to have Barnes starting over Sohan for better floor spacing. Keep Castle starting at the small forward for his development, and second priority to Victor's. What do you think about that? What do you think about just having Barnes start and Sohan coming off the bench and keeping Castle on the court?
Is there anything wrong with coming off the bench? I don't really think so.
No, I don't think so either. Yeah.
I think it's a really good place to be because you don't have that pressure on you. And you not only get to play with some of the starting unit at the same time and also play with some of the second unit. So it's a good in between. I think this would actually be good for Sohan's development, quite honestly. I think having him come off the bench and playing with that second unit will give him his best opportunities to really showcase his skill set, which is going to be a defensive player. And also he's going to be able to get more touches with that second unit, which will also help him score maybe into double digits. So he can go ahead and have double doubles, you know, more often than if he started. Because when he's starting, it seems like at times he's going to be called upon to play defense. Now that you have Wemby back and you're having some of the other players and Vassell come back, he's not going to get as many touches. So his points production is going to go down. I think having Castle in there, a person that can create their own shot, has their own shot creation, really good shooter out there, you know, good two-way player. I think he's going to give you a better opportunity to win games over Sohan. And having Barnes in there and have that veteran experience in there, I think is going to be imperative to the Spurs' overall record, really giving them that opportunity to go into the play-in. Sometimes you have to go ahead and keep your ego out of the equation. And I think if Sohan actually did come off the bench, it would be really good for the Spurs as a whole and also for Sohan.
Yeah, Keldon Johnson's coming off the bench after starting for so many years with the Spurs. He's embraced it. And I think Sohan could do it if they decide to go that route. I don't think so, Joe. I think once he's ready to go off injury, he's going to be reinserted back into the starting 5 just to boost that defense. He was having a tremendous season up in for the thumb injury. And I think they're going to want to bring him back in there. But look, like you said, it's a good problem to have. You know, you're starting Sohan, starting Castle, having Sohan come off the bench, having Castle come off the bench. Seriously, it's a good problem to Spurs to have. And yeah. You're seeing it. And we mentioned the numbers in the last 5 games. Defensive ratings are up. You know, offensive ratings still need some help, but you're seeing them do the little things, cutting down on turnovers of late, having that killer instinct. All in all, yeah, I think, yeah, if Sohan decides to, you know, they decide to keep Sohan in starting lineup, so be it. You know, we know Champagne's likely going to go back to the bench ultimately, but you can even make an argument for Champagne to keep on starting for this floor spacing. You can even go that route. This Spurs team has a lot of depth, and it is showing. He is Joe Garcia of Area 210 Podcast. Joe, talk to us about Area 210. Why should people be subscribing?
Well, go ahead and subscribe to us because we got to try to keep it puro over here. You know, everything talk of San Antonio. So when it comes to the San Antonio Spurs, so we have people like Jeff come on, and we have some other guests, you know, that you're familiar with that go ahead and come on quite frequently to talk San Antonio Spurs basketball. And we do have, you know, fan segments as well, where we go ahead and just talk about the team and what do the fans think, the pulse of the fan. So yeah, go ahead and give us a listen when you can. We're going to have a new episode be releasing this coming week for Thanksgiving. So we're going to go ahead and talk about the state of the team and the expectations moving forward. So look for that.
Joe, what do you think about that proposed sports district in San Antonio? You think it's just pie in the sky, man?
Dan, I think you know, the thing is with these types of things, I've been around the block a few times and they go ahead and paint a good picture about it. You know, hey, look at the way it's going to look, but it's hard to get to that rendering, you know, because there's a lot of other factors that are going to be at play, and that's going to be voting. How are they going to pay for it?
Yeah.
Overall, I think it is something that San Antonio does need because it does help the city move forward and keep, let's say, competitive with the other
Yeah.
big cities out there. San Antonio is like the seventh or eighth biggest city in the nation, but it has that small time feel. A lot of these other states like Houston, like Dallas, for example, they have, really nice, like entertainment venues and things like that. And I think San Antonio, it's been a long time coming, and I would like to see them move forward with that. I just would like to see them move forward with it sooner rather than later, because I know there's going to be a lot of political red tape. But when it's all said and done, I think it's going to be something that me and you, Jeff, will really come to appreciate, because Spurs fans that are in this new era, right? They're of a certain age, right? They've only known the, like Wemby and some of these other teams, some of these other names. They never got to experience what it's like to go ahead and go and see a Spurs game downtown like we did when we went to go to Hemisphere. It's a different feel, it's a different vibe, and I want to get back to that again, because there's more to do than just go see the Spurs game. Even beforehand, you could go ahead and just walk up and down that entertainment district and go to some shops, maybe get something to eat, go and game. Let's say you go in pregame before you go to the Spurs game. Then afterwards, there's things to do. You can stick around, talk with other fans. Still have that vibe coming off of that Spurs high. That big victory that they might have. It's going to be fun to be able to get back to doing those things that we appreciated when we were growing up.
Yeah.
So I look forward to returning to those days of old, Jeff.
I just hope it's shorter than 10 years. That's
10
what they're projecting. Yeah. I'll be even older. I mean, they might even put me in a handicap accessible seat for me to row. Something like that, man. That's a long time from now. But we'll see. Yeah, for everybody who doesn't know, the state of San Antonio, they're debating whether or not to start a proposed sports district, which might include a Spurs new arena. But again, just barely starting out. It's going to take forever. At least according to projections, 10 years.
I have a big announcement for the city of San Antonio, or let's say a proposal for them. Go ahead and bring back the skyline, man. Ditch the light rail and all that.
Go.
Bring the skyline back for us, man. That'd be a great way to travel, right, Jeff?
That'd be fun. Yeah, now that's bringing back some memories for you and me, Joe. He is Joe Garcia. Make sure to follow him on X at Area 210 Podcast. And we thank him, as always, for taking time out of his schedule to come on here and Locked On Spurs. We'll try to get him on soon, but, he's a busy man. But we'll figure it out for a future episode with Joe Garcia. And check out his show on YouTube.
Maybe around Thanksgiving, Jeff.
Maybe around Thanksgiving. Yeah, everybody's off, so maybe we can get you going. Yeah. And everybody, we thank you for making Locked On Spurs your first listen every single day. Free and available wherever you get podcasts, iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, Kins 5 Plus app. You know where to go. In the description below is the link to the Locked On Spurs newsletter. Go click on that. It's completely free. It's a good little companion piece to Locked On Spurs. We'll be back tomorrow talking all things silver and black and so much more. So for Joe Garcia, I am Jeff Garcia. We're going to put a lock on this episode of Locked On Spurs.